Do you think that using terms like biological male and biological female concede linguistically that there are such things as non-biological males and females? Sort of like we call gay marriage, even though it doesn't exist. It's not a thing. It's two men together pretending to be married, and I don't think we address that anymore because one, we're not allowed to, and two, it feels like the ship sailed on that one. But I wonder if we should just be saying instead, this is a man who thinks that she's a woman, instead of saying biological males and biological females. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And I have made the same point myself. I think it's similar to. In fact, I would equate the term biological male to traditional marriage, where you're putting that qualifier on it, like there's any other kind of marriage. And yet, yeah, I still use the term, and some of that is just kind of a reflex, and you kind of lapse into it. And also, sometimes it's a way of, it's sort of emphasis. It's like saying that you're standing on solid ground. I mean, what other kind of ground could there be but solid, especially if you're standing on it? So biological is just a way of like emphasizing, no, this is biology. But I do think that overall, as just a strategy and a way of being clear in our language, we should probably try to move away from that and stop putting the qualifier on it.
My fear is that YouTube are telling us what we can and can't discuss, and that the sort of vacuum when it comes to this topic, even from conservative commentators, Christian commentators, is going to lead Christians to gradually accept the transgender myth the way in which they've accepted the gay marriage myth. So now that, because it's the only place they're kind of chatting about these things is on YouTube and online. Unfortunately, the priest or the pastor isn't addressing this very often. And so, today, if I come out and say, sodomy is a sin, people are outraged and cannot believe that the church would still teach that. And my fear is you've got all these up-and-coming YouTubers who are just terrified of saying things that will get them banned, and I get that. But I also don't want to kind of fall into that trap. You know what I'm saying? What do you think the balance is? Because you recently got banned off Twitter for saying some things they were unhappy with.
Yeah, I'm concerned about it as well, and that's why, on one hand, it's encouraging when when I went on Dr. Phil and the reaction was so overwhelmingly positive. And almost everyone I've talked to about it said, I totally agree with you, and so on and so forth. And yet, everyone apparently knows how crazy all this stuff is, and yet it's still happening. And if you listen to kind of the national conversation in media and on the internet, you wouldn't know that like 90% of people are against it. And so that it does. On one hand, it's encouraging. On the other hand, it worries me a little bit because I'm thinking, well, hold on a second. If we all know this, then what's going on exactly? And I think people have been kind of beaten metaphorically into silence. Maybe eventually, maybe not so metaphorically. And that's why it also troubles me when I see, and I saw someone, Ali Stuckey made this point on Twitter today that I agree with, which is even things that seem small but really are not small at all. When you have allegedly conservative media outlets who are reporting on, let's say, the trans swimmer at UPenn, Leah Thomas, who's competing against women, and they're obviously against it, and they'll talk about how we don't want men to take over women's sports, but in the articles that they publish, they're still using the preferred pronoun for the man. It's calling him a she. So it's things like that where we're kind of buying into the language and compromising on this and that point until eventually you look around and we've given up the whole field.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.